What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, October 11th, we're going to be hanging out for the next hour or so, going over the start sits for week number 6. It's a big week. We have a lot of adversity this weekend with all the injuries to like Justin Jefferson, Anthony Richardson, Devon Achane, James Conner, a couple other ones. Some heavy injuries this weekend. But we're going to hop right into a screen share, and we're going to get you guys set up for week number 6. We got Harris in the chat. Good evening, my man. Hope you're doing well. Gully's early gang. Yes, sir. Hope you're doing well tonight. We have a question right off the bat here, says Gully's. He's got Stevenson, James Cook, Amon-Ra, Drake London. I'm deciding for flex. Higgins over B-Rob Jr. All right. So we're not sure if Higgins is going to play yet. I'm encouraged that he was able to practice today. He did get a limited day in practice, which last week he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. So he's technically on the right track to being available for week 6 here. So if he plays, I'm going to be tempted to play him. If we look at the fantasy points allowed here, let's take a peek here and see what the matchups are saying. Seattle's not a good defense, man. In terms of wide receiver points allowed here, Seattle allows the most wide receiver points per game. So it's a fantastic matchup for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I'm kind of leaning towards T. Higgins if he plays. With Brian Robinson Jr., he has literally the toughest matchup on paper. The Falcons have not allowed a rushing touchdown or a receiving touchdown to a running back all year. They're allowing 12.56 points per game. I think if T. Higgins plays, I'm going to lean towards playing T. Higgins over Brian Robinson. We also have Josh Downs, Josh Palmer, and Rashad. Also got Imari on waivers on my bench as well for flex candidates. I'll tell you what, man, if T. Higgins can't play, I think I'm going to play Josh Downs. It's a decent matchup for Josh Downs going up against the Jags, and we've seen him play pretty well with Gardner Minshew for about 2.5 games. So if T. Higgins can't go, I think I'm going to play Josh Downs, man. And CJ Stroud or Joe Burrow from Harris here. If that's the case, I mean, we're seeing Seattle's defense being generous to wide receivers and quarterbacks. I kind of want to lean into Joe Burrow this weekend. And Houston going up against Houston's got the Saints, man. The Saints are a good defense. They only allow 13 points per game to the quarterback position. So I'm leaning towards Joe Burrow here being the answer. But hey, let's get into the start sits for the week. We do have Green Bay and Pittsburgh Steelers on bye this weekend. So a good healthy slate here. But tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football, we have the Broncos and the Chiefs. Chiefs picked to win by 10.5. 51 total implied in this one. You're starting your Chiefs. You know that's Patrick Mahomes. You know that's Pacheco, who I might actually want to rank Pacheco as a running back 1 this weekend. It's a good matchup for him. Broncos are the worst team against the running backs. You're starting Kelsey. And then after that, like the only guy that I'm open to playing is Rashee Rice. But even then, I'm still not 100% sold on that. So it's Mahomes, Pacheco, and Kelsey. I think you're starting the Chiefs defense. And then I'm going to leave everybody else here on the bench for the Chiefs. I just don't trust it. I'm actually seeing the weather. The weather's going to be a problem tomorrow night. They were calling for rain and upwards of 20 to 25 mile per hour wind gusts. So not the best environment for football. On the Broncos side, Russell Wilson's only a QB2 in Superflex leagues. And then at flex, I guess Sutton and Judy are like wide receiver 3 flexes. If I'm starting a running back, I probably want to play McLaughlin over Perine and Javonte Williams. It does look like Javonte is going to play. So good news for him if you have him. He can be a low-end RB2. He was limited on Monday, full Tuesday, Wednesday. So he's playing, but I don't feel great about the running back matchup. Say no to the Broncos defense. Try to avoid Broncos if you can. I'm not super excited about getting them in this one here. But we'll move on to the London game real quick, and then I'll get to some of the questions from you guys. This one's the early game on Sunday morning. Ravens at the Titans. Technically, the Ravens picked to win by 3.5. You have 40 implied in this one here. For the Ravens, you're starting Lamar Jackson if you have him. And then after that, Mark Andrews, I want him in my tight end spot. Zay Flowers has been nice. Like he's been a high floor PPR option, for you. So he's a wide receiver 3 flex. I think he's having a big game at some point soon. And we do know that the Titans, man, the Titans give up a lot of wide receiver points here. They allow about 41 wide receiver points per game. So if Zay Flowers can get 15 to 20 of those, that would be a nice startable day. At running back, they're still mixing in Justice Hill with Gus Edwards. These guys are just low-end RB2 flex plays. If you have questions on them, I probably prefer Justice Hill in a full PPR format. Otherwise, Gus in a standard or half PPR. I'm open to starting the Ravens defense, and then Bateman, Beckham, Aguilar will leave those guys on the bench. Titans, man, they're looking a little bit better, offensively. Ryan Tannehill's just, I should spell his name right, but he's a QB2 in Superflex. You're starting Derrick Henry. I think DeAndre Hopkins, man, like he looked like the old D-Hop last weekend. So I want to lean into getting him in my lineup. He's a wide receiver 2. To me, he does look better as your wide receiver 3 or your flex. Okonkwo, if you need a tight end dart, I'm fine with it. And then Tajay Spears is more of a low-end RB2 flex play. I'm open to the Titans D, but not super excited about it. Traylon Burks probably not playing. Westbrook-Ikhine and Kyle Phillips. We're going to say no. I'm not super excited about this game. Then, there's a low point total in this one. I think it's a start your studs situation. If you guys have questions on those guys, we can get into it. But we'll get to the Sunday early games in a second. Let's get to some of these questions here. Gully says, thanks for the feedback. No problem. Hope for a bounce back week. All right, we're 1-4, man, and we're right at that doorstep. I think 1-4, you can kind of crawl out of that one. I'm assuming your season is 14 regular season weeks long. You can probably have up to 6 losses. So now it's go time now. We got to get back on track here. So hopefully we can get you in the win column and get you to 2-4. I was wondering if Kelsey doesn't play, who's a better waiver wire pickup for me at tight end? Jonnu or David Njoku? Let's look at the tight end matchups this weekend. So Njoku, he's been hot. He's been playing really, really well lately. This weekend he gets the Commanders. The Commanders, they were the number 1 defense against tight ends, going into Thursday Night Football, and then Cole Kmet had a decent game. So it raised it a little bit. It's not a great opportunity for Jonnu Smith or Kyle Pitts in that regard. Commanders are a good defense here. But with David Njoku going up against the San Francisco 49ers, I'm not sure I'm into that. And it doesn't look good for Deshaun Watson. I don't think Watson's going to play this weekend. The fact that they had their bye week and he's still not really out there practicing is a pretty big concern. They don't have their Cleveland reports in here yet, but I know he's not practicing. So I think I'm going to lean with Jonnu, but I'm pretty sure Kelsey plays tomorrow night. The fact that he was able to practice today, he didn't get a full practice in today, got a limited, but I think Kelsey's playing, so I think you're going to be just fine. Thielen or Joe Mixon, non-PPR. So Thielen's been hot, Harris. We've talked about Thielen a lot this offseason, and Thielen's playing really good, man. I don't know how you sit him in this one. And Joe Mixon going up against Seattle. Seattle has been, decently generous to the running back right now. They've allowed 5 rushing touchdowns, but not a lot of yards. So if Mixon doesn't get that touchdown, it's not a high floor. Whereas Thielen going up against the Dolphins, it's let's take a look at that matchup here. The Miami Dolphins, pretty generous to opponent wide receivers here. I'm going to lean Adam Thielen just because he's just been so good lately, the last month. So I'm going to lean Thielen here. And how do you like the Lions defense? The Lions defense this weekend, man, it's probably a good play. I just want to see. The Buccaneers are expected to score 21 points. It's in Tampa Bay. I don't think the weather's going to be a factor here. Tampa Bay is coming off a bye, however, and we got to see if Mike Evans is going to be playing in this one. I don't hate the Lions defense. I think they're like a top 10 play. So if you need somebody, I'm fine with the Lions here. An update on Marquise Brown. I didn't see anything here. I know he was dealing with the hand injury. He didn't practice. He's got an illness. I would assume because it's Wednesday, I'm not too worried yet. If he misses tomorrow, again with the DNP, we'll be a little bit worried, but hopefully he's going to be fine. It doesn't seem like he has an injury designation here, so it's more so can he get over this illness? And I think it's just that time of year where we're going to start to see, people start to pop up with illnesses, whether they're NFL players or people around our daily lives. So Marquise Brown, hopefully he's fine. All he needs to do is be able to practice by Friday. Vegas, David Phillips, thanks for hanging out. Vegas or Ravens defense this weekend. Let's take a look at those game totals here. They're only projecting 42.5 points in that Raiders-Patriots game. It's in Las Vegas. The Patriots they've scored 3 points in the last 2 games here. So I think the Raiders are a fun play this weekend, whereas you have the Baltimore Ravens here. Their game total is actually projected to be the lowest of the entire slate going up against Tennessee, and they are favored to win. Tennessee's only projected 18.25 points right now. So in theory, they're both strong plays, but I think I'm going to lean with that Vegas Raiders defense, man. Patriots have just been abysmal, and I think you might be able to continue to ride that hot hand. An update on Jordan Addison. So Wednesday, I didn't see anything too serious. Did he miss practice today? Wednesday, you might start to see some guys just, not practice with some stuff. So a limited tag for him with an ankle. If he was DNP, I'd be a little bit more worried here, but I think we're just at that point where everybody's got nicks and bruises. So Addison, with no JJ, like they need him to be 100% healthy. So I think they're going to take it easy with him in practice. I think he's going to be just fine. But we'll monitor tomorrow and Friday as well. But let's get to this Commanders Falcons game on Sunday. Falcons picked to win by 2.5. 41.5 implied in this one. I think for super flex leagues, you can be open to Desmond Ridder. He's played well twice at home this season. Bijan Robinson, he's in your lineup. I think Drake London's like a nice wide receiver 3 flex. If you remove London's week 1 game, like the rest of it looks pretty solid. So I'm fine with him in my lineups. I did list Kyle Pitts as my tight end 1 over Jonnu Smith. I think if I had to choose between one, I'm going to still lean with Kyle Pitts. The talent of Kyle Pitts is still really good. But honestly, you could start both of these tight ends. It's technically their number 2, number 3 target in this offense right now. So both tight ends in play. I'm going to say no to the Falcons defense, but I'm open to that. They're home favorites. Howell does, tend to turn the ball over at times. But Algier, Mac Hollins, CPAT, will leave those guys on the bench. On the Commander side, I think Howell, interesting QB2 for Superflex. You're starting Brian Robinson, but again, we noted at the beginning of the show, it's literally the toughest matchup on paper here. The Falcons, the best team against running backs here, only allowing 12.56 PPR points per game to the running back position. So if you divide that in 2, you give 6 to Brian, you give 6 to Gibson. It's not a very good outlook for these guys. So I get it if you have questions there. I want to start Terry McLaurin. You kind of want to start Logan Thomas, man. He looked really good against the Bears. So I'm into Logan Thomas. I think Gibson, Dotson, and Samuel, if I had to start one of these guys, it's Curtis Samuel. He's outscored Jahan Dotson in every game this season. In a PPR league, I'm fine with it, but there's probably going to be questions on the Commander side here. I think this game is going to be kind of fun. Both young second-year quarterbacks, they want to run the ball. We'll see what happens here in Atlanta. We'll get to the Vikings and Bears in a second. Let's call up some questions. Sports Dog, good evening. We picked up Jeff Wilson Jr. He's still on IR, so it was a free pickup. Awesome. I'm a bit worried about Roshan Johnson and Amon-Ra had a limited practice. Hope there is a go. I think Amon-Ra is probably on the good side of playing. I know he was limited today. He got the limited practice in today. I also saw the head coach say a good blurb that he's probably going to be ready to go. So I think Amon-Ra is in. I don't expect Jeff Wilson to play this weekend. Typically, when a player gets activated, their 21 window gets activated, they're usually not ready to go that first week. But I get it. Devon Achane not playing. He's on IR now. Maybe they kind of rush Jeff Wilson back into the fold here. They're also getting back. Raheem Mostert was a non-injury day today. Jeff Wilson's limited today. But they're also getting Salvon Ahmed here. So I don't know if Jeff Wilson's a good play, even if he's out there. We want to see his snaps and things like that before we trust it. With Roshan Johnson, it's Wednesday. He's in the concussion protocol. We're going to give him tomorrow. If he's able to practice tomorrow, I feel better about it. But right now, I would say Roshan's probably trending towards not playing this weekend. So we might have to address your running back, Sports Dog. Mostert or Mike Evans, full PPR. Interesting. Was Evans good to go today? I'm seeing Mike Evans DNP today here. So coming off a bye week, that's not great. We wanted him to get a limited day in here, so he's in jeopardy of missing, I would say right now. It's probably a 50-50 call. Right now, I'm going to lean Mostert, with no Devon Achane, not so healthy Jeff Wilson, Salvon Ahmed. It's a great matchup for Raheem Mostert. So I'm going to lean Mostert as the safe play, and he's got a really good ceiling to him too. The Panthers do allow a lot of running back points here, so it's Mostert for now. Good evening to Christian. We're starting 3, Lockett, Kirk, Palmer, Javonte McLaurin, Roshan, and D. Mercado. I think the 2 guys that stick out here are Lockett and Christian Kirk. Those guys are kind of staples to me. I'm not really trusting Javonte Williams. I don't know if Roshan's going to play quite like we just talked about here. I kind of want to lean into Terry McLaurin. I know McLaurin didn't have a great game last weekend, but I'm thinking Lockett and Kirk are the 2 guys that I like the most, and it's probably between Palmer and McLaurin as my wide receiver 3. Now, it's a great matchup. Dallas is not the best defense right now without Trayvon Diggs, and we saw them get lit up last weekend. So I'm going to rank them Kirk, Lockett, McLaurin, Palmer, and then D. Mercado would be my next. He'd be the best running back available, I think. But I think I'm going Kirk, Lockett, Terry McLaurin. Marquise Brown or Brian Robinson, half PPR. Yeah, I'm gonna lean Marquise Brown in this one. Marquise has been pretty bulletproof, to start the year right now. And again, it's not a great matchup for Brian Robinson. You need him to fall into the end zone for him to have a nice day. Whereas Marquise is going to continue to get his targets. It's a decent matchup for Marquise Brown. I know the Rams do rank, fourth best against wide receiver, but I think I'm willing to lean with Marquise in this one. Tannehill or Desmond Ridder? I mean, after what we just saw last weekend with the Commanders defense, like I kind of want to target that. Like they were absolute garbage last weekend. They had nobody in the secondary to stop DJ Moore. Tannehill, he's safer, but I feel like he's more of like a low floor play of like 8 to 12 points. If I'm starting one of these guys, I think I'm going to lean with the matchup. I'm going to go with Desmond Ridder at home where he's had his best games. But let's get into the Vikings and the Bears. The Vikings picked to win by 3, 48 implied in this one. I think you can start Kirk Cousins as your fringe QB1. Madison continues to be a low-end RB2 play, but he's starting to lose work to Cam Akers, so he's more of a flex play to me. I think Jordan Addison needs to be in your lineups as a wide receiver 3 flex. TJ Hawkinson, yeah, you're starting him. And then Osborne's the one guy where I'm probably going to get some questions on KJ Osborne. I think it's a great matchup for him. He's more of he's kind of in the lines of like Josh Palmer. Like he's going to be on the field a lot. He's going to get 6 to 8 targets, and if he gets a touchdown, he's going to have a nice day. So he's a decent flex play. Say no to the Vikings defense. Cam Akers, I'm watching Cam Akers to see if he continues to eat into the Alexander Madison workload. Otherwise, Powell will leave on the bench. He's a guy that I'm monitoring in deep leagues. And obviously, Justin Jefferson's not playing. On the Bears side, you're playing Justin Fields. If Roschon plays, I want to get him in there as my RB2 flex. But again, I'm going to pump the brakes on Roschon. I don't think he's going to play. I was hoping he'd practice today, but who knows? That could change tomorrow or Friday. You're starting DJ Moore, obviously. I think Cole Kmet needs to be locked into the tight end 1 spot as well. He's just playing too well to ignore. And then the guy to keep an eye on is D'Onta Foreman because, no Khalil Herbert. Roschon Johnson dinged up with a concussion. It could be, a 15-touch D'Onta Foreman day. So, if you have roster space and Deontay's out there on your waiver wire, he's a solid stash. And if Roschon can't play, I'm going to move D'Onta Foreman up to that RB2 slot. We did see Foreman play well in relief duties last year. He's a decent back. Say no to the Bears defense. We'll leave all these other guys here on the bench. But Vikings-Bears, man, if the Vikings drop this one and go to 1-5, I'm getting nervous about Justin Jefferson maybe being shut down for longer than 4 games. But keep the questions coming in, guys. I'm going to move on to the Seahawks and the Bengals. Cincinnati off the hump here. They got to 2-3. Bengals picked to win by 2.5 at home. 46.5 implied in this one. I think Joe Burrow is back in our good graces as a QB1. You're starting him. You're starting Joe Mixon as a running back too. The numbers haven't been great for Joe Mixon, but he continues to be the only game in town. They don't have a running back too that they trust. There's a good chance that he falls into the end zone in this one. And even though he's not playing like lights out, he's going to have a big game at some point, right? He's been double digits 4 out of 5 games. He's only scored 1 touchdown all year. 25 carries last weekend, 4 catches. He's a volume play. So I'm fine with Mixon. Obviously, you're starting Jamar Chase. If T. Higgins plays, it's a dice roll. We've seen T. Higgins try to play through injuries before, and he ends up getting a 0. Last year, I think he did it twice. So, I do have some risk concerns where, if you have Jordan Addison or T. Higgins, I'm going to play Jordan Addison. If you have T. Higgins or Josh Palmer, I might lean Josh Palmer, something like that. But I do want to try and get Higgins in my lineup. Tyler Boyd is a start if Higgins can't go. Say no to the Bengals defense. Herb Smith, Travion, Trent Irwin will leave these guys on the bench. The Seahawks side, I think Geno Smith can still be a fringe QB1. He does look better as your QB2 in Superflex leagues. You're starting Kenneth Walker. You're starting DK Metcalf. I want to lean into getting Tyler Lockett in my lineup. I know he hasn't been fantastic to start the year, but off a bye, he's healthy. It's a good matchup here. I want to get Lockett in my lineup. And then we're going to say no to Seattle's defense as well. Zach Charbonnet, man, with no more buys for the Seahawks, they might start to lean on Kenneth Walker, they might start to lean on Charbonnet a little bit more just to keep Kenneth Walker fresh. So if he's out there on your waiver wire, he's a really good stash play on your bench. So keep an eye out for more Charbonnet in the offense. And then JSN, still a stash, but it's looking like he's going to need an injury to DK or Lockett to make our starting lineup. So fun game here. Seahawks and Bengals, man. I'm excited about that early game here. Let's see what Harris has. He's saying trade away Mark Andrews for Aaron Jones and Darren Waller, full PPR. I think if you need running backs, I'm into this. We did see signs of life from Darren Waller, but right now, man, like Mark Andrews he's playing really good football at the tight end spot. So if you need a starting running back, I think I'm into it because I'm hoping Darren Waller and the Giants offense can continue to feed him targets. Again, if he didn't have the good game last weekend, I wouldn't be as interested in it. So I don't know if there's that much of a drop off from Andrews to Waller. But if you definitely need a starting running back, Jones is going to be healthy starting week 7. Pick one: Pierce, JT, or Lockett, full PPR. So the safest play is probably Dameon Pierce. I know he hasn't been great this season yet, but it's a volume play where I know he's going to get the ball 15 times. It's a tough matchup, though, against the Saints. They haven't allowed a running back to score a touchdown all year. And basically, they're allowing 14 PPR points per game. So between 10 and 14 points, I expect out of Dameon Pierce. Whereas Jonathan Taylor, I don't know what the snap load is going to look like. I don't know how many touches he's going to get. I'm pretty sure he's going to get more than last weekend. But I think for me, I'm going to lean with Tyler Lockett. The Bengals defense is good, but Lockett's coming off a bye. They're healthy. That game might be kind of fun, high scoring. I'm going to lean Tyler Lockett. I would probably rank them as Lockett, Pierce, and Jonathan Taylor. I think with JT, we need more data points. We need to see more snaps. Maybe he forces more of a 50-50 split this weekend, but we'll have to monitor that one there, Harris. The 49ers at the Cleveland Browns. 49ers picked to win by 5. 42 implied in this one, and there's going to be weather issue in this one too. I think a lot of the outdoor games on Sunday are going to be affected by wind or rain or both. So low score in this one. I think Brock Purdy can be your low end QB1. He does look better as a QB2 in Superflex leagues. Obviously, you're starting McCaffrey. I want to play Ayuk. I want to play Debo. I want to play Kittle. Keep these guys in your lineups. We've seen them all take turns having massing games. I think you just have to be okay with the floor. We've seen the floor games. We've seen the ceiling games. Got to take it for what it is. Start that 49ers defense, and then we're going to leave Mitchell, Mason, and Jennings there on the bench. Cleveland Browns, it doesn't look good for Deshaun Watson. It sounds like they're prepping PJ Walker to get the start this weekend. So if Watson plays, that's going to change the outlook, but I want to be ahead of the game here and assume that it's PJ Walker. You can start Jerome Ford. He's more of a volume RB2 play, but it's not a great play against the 49ers. You can start Amari Cooper. I might actually move Cooper down to wide receiver 3 potential. Njoku's a streaming tight end flex option for you, and Elijah Moore could just be a high floor PPR play. Overall, though, I'm not excited to get Browns in my lineup just because, 1, it's the 49ers, 2, no Deshaun Watson, and 3, the weather. So I'm going to lean in questions that I get like Amari Cooper or Brandon Ayuk. I'm going to lean away from the Browns this weekend. Probably not the Browns defense, but again, I mentioned it might be a low scoring game. We're going to leave these guys here on the bench. I got to get Philip Walker on the chart there. Panthers and Dolphins, we'll get to this game in a second. Would you want Jacoby Myers over them? Yes. I'm going to go Jacoby Myers there, Harris. He's been hot, dude. I know he missed the one game, but if you take that one game out, like he's been a wide receiver 2 plus. And it's a revenge game, you know. He's been in New England. It's a good game for Jacoby Myers this weekend. So I think I would rank Jacoby over those guys. Michael Wilson or Gus Edwards? I don't trust Michael Wilson yet. I'm going to lean Gus Edwards in this one. He could fall into the end zone. I know it's a full PPR game, but you're gambling, mightily with Michael Wilson there. He didn't have a great game last weekend. He had the nice game 2 weekends ago, but I'm going to take the 10 to 12 touches for Gus Edwards and hope he falls into the end zone. Pick 2, Purdy, Jimmy G, or CJ Stroud. Yikes. So that's a super flex question, I'm sure. It's hard to not play Brock Purdy just because he's been so good. I know it's not a great matchup going up against Cleveland, but Purdy's just been so safe and steady. The New England Patriots are pretty poor right now on defense, but they do blanket quarterbacks a little bit here. So I'm kind of feeling CJ Stroud. I think I'm going to lean Stroud and Brock Purdy here. That's probably where I'm looking. But let's get back into the Panthers and the Dolphins here. Dolphins picked to win by 14, 48.5 implied in this one. Start your Dolphins. You're starting Tua, Mostert, Tyreek, Waddle. I shouldn't have any questions on those guys. We need them in our lineups. go ahead and start that Miami Dolphins defense if you need to. And then Durham Smythe, Berrios, Anderson, Claypool, we'll leave all these guys on the bench. Again, A-Chain's now on IR, so we're going to be watching to see who that RB2 is. If Jeff Wilson's activated, I don't think I want to start him just because I don't really know what his workload's going to be. I don't want to risk anything. So obviously he's a good, if he's on the waiver wires, he's a good pickup right now, but I'm not playing him this weekend. I want to see what it looks like first, even though it is a fantastic matchup against the Panthers. On the Panthers side, there's some, they got smoked by Detroit, but there's signs of life here. Bryce Young had his best statistical day, his best fantasy day. He's a QB2 in Superflex leagues. I think if you have Thielen, you have to find a way to get him in your starting lineup. And then Hurst, Chark, these guys are fringe starterable, like tight end. If you need it, you can play Hurst. Chark's a boom bust wide receiver 3 flex. And then I'm watching the health of Miles Sanders. He did not practice today, I believe. Let's pull that up. Oh, I clicked on Chicago. Carolina. So we got a DNP for Miles Sanders with a shoulder. I would say right now between his groin injury and his shoulder injury, I think it's Chuba Hubbard's backfield this weekend. So if Chuba's available, pick him up. I think Miles Sanders, even if he plays, he's not going to be 100% his self. So you can maybe play Chuba as a desperation RB2 flex play, but I would lean right now towards Sanders not playing. Don't play the Panthers defense. Mingo and Marshall will leave these guys on the bench here, but I do think Mingo is worth a deeper league a 12-team, end of your bench guy. I think he's looking good, but it's all Dolphins in this one. If you guys are playing and lose your pools, pick the Panthers. We'll move on to the Lions and the Buccaneers. What do you think I can get with Alexander Mattison and Mike Evans in a trade? Non-PPR. So Mike Evans has been good. Mattison has not been so good. So I think what you're looking at is you're looking for one really good starter, because Mike Evans is a starter when he's healthy. So like if we're looking around here, and it really depends if you need the running back or the wide receiver more. If I'm just looking at, I'm just going to pull up Yahoo because that's half PPR. And I know it's non-PPR, but you can maybe go talk to the Jacobs, the Pacheco owners if you need a running back. I think you're looking for like a fringe running back one. You could try Tony Pollard. You could try Breece Hall. You could try even Joe Mixon. Guys like that. I don't think you're going to get the Bijans, the Montgomerys. You could try for DeAndre Swift. So a fringe running back one makes sense. And then for wide receiver, you can try Keenan Allen. I don't think you're going to get it. You can try Devontae. You could try AJ Brown. You might be looking more at like a CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Calvin Ridley type, like one of those receivers. So not necessarily a huge upgrade to Mike Evans, but you should get a player that we like more than Mike Evans. Tank Dell update. It doesn't sound like he's going to play this weekend. He didn't practice today. He hasn't cleared the concussion protocol. The beat reporters that I follow, it seemed like they're going to let him rest this weekend here. So prepare to have no Tank Dell in week 6. Lockett or Devonta Smith? That's a tough question because like if you would have asked me that week 1, we would have said Devonta Smith all day. But now we have a couple disappointing games, from Devonta Smith, and now they're playing the Jets. The New York Jets, still a good defense, although they're not as great against the opponent wide receivers here. They do rank 3rd best, though, against wide receivers. So tough matchup here. The matchup is, Cincinnati, they rank 9th against the wide receivers here. So it's a better matchup for Lockett. I think the passing volume from Geno could be nice. I'm going to lean Tyler Lockett in this one. We need to see it a little bit more from Devonta Smith. So I'm going to lean Lockett. Good evening to Ryan. Pittman, Higgins, or Roschon PPR. I'm going Pittman all day, guys. Pittman with Gardner Minshew is a wide receiver too. So I'm all in on the Michael Pittman. And even if Roschon plays, even if Higgins plays, I'm going Pittman. Mike Evans or Nico Collins. The decision might be made for you if Mike Evans can't go, but I think I'm going to lean Nico Collins even if Mike Evans plays. So we already have Tank Dell trending towards not playing. So I think it's a Nico day for me against the Saints. But let's get into the Lions and the Buccaneers. Lions picked to win by 3.5, 45.5 implied in this one. On the Lions side, I think Jared Goff can be a fringe QB1. He does look better as a super flex QB2. David Montgomery is magnificent. You're starting him in every league, every format. It sounds like Amon-Ra is going to play, so I have him in there as a wide receiver 1. You're playing him if he plays. You're playing Sam Laporta if you lucked out on the Sam Laporta sweepstakes. Josh Reynolds can be a deep wide receiver 3 flex. I'm unsure on Jahmyr Gibbs, man. I don't know if he's going to play in this one. with the hamstring injury. I don't know if I trust him for a full complement of snaps. He didn't practice today. He's nothing more than a running back 2 flex play if you need him. But again, I think he's trending towards not playing. Maybe the Lions defense. If Jahmyr Gibbs can't play, Craig Reynolds is a deep RB2 play if you need help there. I'm not playing Jameson Williams yet. I need to see more. Marvin Jones and Khalif Raymond, no thank you. On the Buccaneers side, Baker Mayfield's a super flex option. Rashad White's like a deep RB2 play, more of a PPR guy. I have Mike Evans listed here as a wide receiver too. If he plays, I want to get him in, but I might flip-flop these guys. Godwin's healthier. This could be a Godwin game in a game where the Buccaneers have to play from behind and have to throw a ball a lot. So I'm going to flip Godwin for Evans, and we'll watch Evans' practice reports. Say no to the Bucs defense. If you have to, I'm okay with it. The Lions just aren't the same team, on the road as they are at home. Maybe Cade Otton if you need. If Mike Evans is out, maybe it's a Cade Otton streaming week. Otherwise, Vaughn and Trey Palmer, I'm going to say no thank you to. Colts and Jags we'll get to in a second. Sports Dog says, if Roschon can't go, I only have Brian Robinson. I'm using James Cook in the other RB spot. I could pick up Tajee or Chuba, or am I using Robinson? So there's a couple layers to this. If Miles Sanders doesn't play, I think you want to play Chuba Hubbard over Brian Robinson. But the safe answer is probably just to play Brian Robinson. He's still involved in the passing game. He could fall into the end zone. We could see the Commanders' offense. They looked really good passing the ball in the second half. So maybe they continue throwing the ball and moving the ball well. So I'm going to lean Brian Robinson. But hey, if Miles Sanders is out, I'm open to Chuba Hubbard there. But for now, I think Roschon's probably not playing. So I think you're okay with Brian Robinson in there, even though it's a tough matchup. Rank these rest of season non-PPR. Marquise, London, Adam Thielen. I would go Marquise, Thielen, London. Brian Robinson or Curtis Samuel full PPR. I'm going to go with Curtis Samuel in a full PPR, man. He's been pretty good. And full PPR, if he gets his 4 or 5 catches, he's in good shape there. And it's a better matchup, for wide receivers than running backs there. But Colts at Jaguars. Jags projected to win by 45.5 in this one. You're playing Trevor Lawrence. I think he's back into our good graces as a top 10 quarterback play. Obviously, you're starting ETN, Ridley, and Kirk and Ingram. I think all need to be in your lineups if you can. Maybe the Jags defense here. If you need a streamer, Zay Jones probably not going to play. Tank Bigsby, no thank you. On the Colts side of things, I think Minshew is a super flex play. I'm okay with starting Moss as my RB2, but I don't feel great about it. But man, he's just looked so good. I don't want to leave him on my bench again. Michael Pittman Jr., yeah, you're starting him. And then I want to lean into Josh Downs. I think he's going to be a productive player, whether he gets 6, 7, 8 targets in this one. I think he plays well with Minshew. And then Jonathan Taylor is like a deep RB2 flex. I think I'd rather play Jonathan Taylor over Brian Robinson. So he's down there kind of on that fringe RB2 spectrum. Say no to the Colts defense. Pearson Granson will leave on the bench. We'll move into the Saints and the Texans. Saints picked to win by 2.5 in this one, 40.5 implied. For the must starts on the Saints, like it's Kamara and Olave. Like those guys are locked in. I think you can play Michael Thomas in full PPR as your 3 or your flex. Derek Carr's only super flex leagues for me. I'm open to starting the Saints defense, and then keep an eye on Kendre Miller. I think he's worth a stash in deeper leagues here, but otherwise I can't play Shaheed, Foster, Jimmy Graham, Juwan Johnson. Stick to the studs in this one. On the Texans side of things, Stroud's more of a QB2 for Superflex leagues. This is a tough matchup. I know he's been playing good. I'm hoping for 12 to 15 points out of him. Continue starting Dameon Pierce. I know it hasn't really been a hit yet, but he's continuing to get the volume, and they're going to lean on him as the season goes on. Nico Collins needs to be in your lineup. I know it's a tough matchup, but I don't think Tank Dell's playing, so I'm going to move him down to the bench. Maybe it's a Dalton Schultz game. But again, the Saints defense is not something to mess with. I think they're one of the top 5 teams against the tight end position here. So he's more of a flex play at best. And then Robert Woods, if Tank Dell can't play, Robert Woods is maybe a deep flex. Say no to the Texans defense. We'll leave Mechie and Singletary here on the bench. We'll get into the Sunday late games in a second. Let me catch up on some of these questions. Who do you think I can get in a trade with Wilson and London, non-PPR? I'm looking for a receiver. Okay, so honestly, Wilson and London don't have a tremendous ton of value. I think they're both kind of like, wide receiver 3 flexes. So you're trying to upgrade and get like a wide receiver 2. Whether you could ask the CeeDee Lamb owner, you could ask for the Christian Kirk, you could ask, Ridley, Ayuk, maybe Mike Evans. In a non PPR, Mike Evans does look appealing. So I would probably look around in that range. If you wanted to buy low on Devonta Smith, I'm fine with that. But Devonta, Kirk, St. Brown, Lamb, Ridley, Ayuk, you're trying to buy like a nice wide receiver too with those prices. Should Elijah Moore be rostered over Brandon Cooks in a 10-man PPR league? Probably. I'm fine with it. We've seen the good news with Elijah Moore is we've seen the targets there, and it really hasn't, equated to huge fantasy games, but the targets are there, whereas for Brandon Cooks, they're not quite there. So I'm fine with Elijah over Brandon Cooks at this moment. Although this weekend it might be a Brandon Cooks game going up against that Chargers defense. But let's get into the Patriots and the Raiders. Raiders picked to win by 3. 42.5 implied in this one. Honestly, I don't want to play a single New England Patriot. I think if you're stuck playing Ramondre as your RB2 flex, it's fine. I don't love it, but I understand if you need to do it. Ezekiel Elliott's getting just as much work, if not more, in the passing game, so he's a low-end RB2 flex play as well. Honestly, though, if I can sit my Patriots, I'm sitting the Patriots. Say no to the defense, Mac, Henry, all the receivers, no thank you. Start your Raiders, though. Like Jimmy G in the super flex league, sure. Josh Jacobs, Devontae, Myers. I want all these guys in my lineup. I think the Raiders defense is startable, and we're going to say no to Renfrow and Michael Mayer. But keep an eye on Michael Mayer. They made a point to get him the ball a little bit more on Monday Night Football. He could be a guy that continues to pick up steam as the season goes along. Would you rather of Josh Downs? I'd rather Josh Downs over Moore and Brandon Cooks, yes. Josh Downs, yes. Arizona Cardinals at the LA Rams, 5.5 points for the Rams, 47 total implied in this one. On the Rams side, man, like it's looking kind of fun. Like you got Stafford as a QB2 for Superflex leagues for sure. I think he's a streaming QB1 this weekend. Go ahead and play Kieran Williams. I know the volume's still going to be there. He didn't play well last weekend, but he's getting the volume. Kupp, Nakua, yes, please. Tyler Higbee's a fine tight end option if you need the help there. And then Atwell's the fact that Atwell made Van Jefferson get traded, like locks him into the third wide receiver role. So I have to move Van Jefferson off this list to get him on the Falcons list. But I think Atwell in 12-team leagues, he's a hold. Ronnie Rivers remains the backup here for the Rams. We'll keep an eye on his workload. But for the Cardinals, Dobbs is only for super flex. I'm fine with Marquise Brown as my wide receiver 3. Ertz, I don't love Zach Ertz, but man, he keeps getting the volume. He's finally scored a touchdown last weekend. I don't really love it, but hey, if you need it, I get it. And then the running back of choice here for me is Emari Demercado. I know everyone was kind of, shaking their heads at seeing Keontae Ingram listed as the RB1 on the depth chart, but I'm not buying it. Demercado, I think, is the better back between the two. He's the better passing back for sure, and he might be the better back in between the tackles. So if you need somebody this weekend as your RB2 flex play, I think Demercado is the guy who's going to get 10 to 15 touches. Say no to the Cardinals defense. Wilson, Moore, James Conner obviously out. We'll move on to the Eagles and the New York Jets. Would you rather Jacoby Myers or Josh Downs non-PPR rest of season? I'm going to lean Jacoby Myers just because we've seen him play pretty well to start the year. And the Raiders are a funnel team right now. They're throwing Devontae and Jacoby only, and they're running with Jacobs. It's pretty bulletproof, I think, right now. I'm gonna lean Jacoby Myers here, Harris. But the Eagles at the Jets. Eagles picked to win by 6.5. You have 42 implied in this one. Eagles are simple. We know we're starting Hurts. We're starting Swift, A.J. Brown. I still have Devonta Smith ranked as a wide receiver 2, and Goddard's back in our good graces. And Dallas Goedert actually has the number 1 matchup this weekend for tight end. So the Jets are allowing 17 PPR points to the tight end. Play Dallas Goedert. Start the Eagles defense. We'll leave Kenneth Walker and Watkins on the bench. The Jets, they're continuing to show signs of life and growth on the offensive side of the ball. I think Wilson's more of a super flex stash play at best. You're playing Breece Hall, though. He's the one guy I want in my lineup from this team. Garrett Wilson still belongs on your lineup as a wide receiver 3 flex, and I think Tyler Conklin, if you need a tight end, I'm open to him. But I probably don't want to play the Jets defense in this one. We'll leave Lazard, Dalvin Cook, and Michael Carter on the bench. And then we get to Sunday Night Football. So we're ahead of schedule here, guys. We're doing good. Keep your questions coming. We'll hang out for another 15 or 20 minutes, whatever you guys need. Would you trade Bijan for James Cook and Godwin or Bijan for Breece and T. Higgins? I'm thinking of trading Bijan because Arthur Smith pushes Allgeier's volume. So the good news with Bijan is he's still playing as a top 10 running back, even though Allgeier's getting volume. So, I mean, if anything happens to Allgeier, like, look out, the ceiling there is pretty massive for Bijan. And the schedule for the Falcons is just so nice. Like, Bijan's the best player of all the names that we're looking at here. But to trade him for Breece and Higgins, I think that's more attractive to me than James Cook and Godwin. I mean, I could argue rest of season, I don't know what you guys think in the comments. I see about 11, 12 people watching on YouTube here. Would you guys rather have Breece or Bijan rest of season? I think it's pretty close. So to downgrade from Bijan to Breece, and then you get T. Higgins, who, again, the Bengals are on bye next week, and I think after the bye, like, the Bengals are back, like, T. Higgins is back to wide receiver 2 play the rest of season here. I think I'm okay with getting Breece and T. Higgins in this deal there, Christian. Curious though, what do you got? Like, I got a lot of people here in the video tonight. Are you guys taking this trade, Bijan for Breece and T. Higgins? I like it way more than James Cook and Godwin. So if I'm going to do one, that's the side that I want. But I'm just curious what other people think here. Sunday Night Football, ugly, ugly, ugly. The New York Giants at the Buffalo Bills, 15 implied in this one, or 15-point favorites for Buffalo, 46.5 implied. Start your Bills. We know Josh Allen, James Cook, Stephon Diggs, and Gabe Davis have been pretty good for us this season. Continue starting them. You want to start the Buffalo defense, obviously, in this one. On the bench, though, we're still not sure who the RB2 is behind Cook. It's Murray sometimes. It's Harris sometimes. I don't really want to play either of the tight ends, but I'm open to one of these guys stepping up in this game. On the Giants side, I think Saquon's going to play. We still aren't 100% sure on this here, but he's been out for a while. I would like to think that he's close to 100%, if not 90%. He did practice limited today, so it sounds like he's playing. Hopefully we get more practice updates on him throughout the week. Play him if he plays. Even if it's the Bills, I don't care. I want to play Saquon if he plays. And then Darren Waller popped up on the report today. He actually didn't practice with a groin injury, so we're going to monitor that. But Saquon and Waller are the only two guys I want in my lineup. Say no to the Giants defense. We're still waiting to see if Daniel Jones is going to play. It might be Tyrod Taylor. Otherwise, I'm not playing a Giants receiver. Not playing Matt Breida. Keep an eye on Wan'Dale Robinson, PPR leagues, but it's coming up pretty heavy Bills here. And then I'm going to finish with the Monday Night Football game, and then we'll open it up to questions for you guys. Cowboys at the Los Angeles Chargers. Cowboys picked to win by 2. 48 implied in this one. I think Dak Prescott's a QB2 for Superflex leagues, and if you need somebody in a 1 QB league, I'm open to it because the Chargers, not great defensively. They allow the most points to the quarterback per game right now, 22.42 points per game. They also allow they rank 31st against the wide receiver here. So it's a great matchup for CeeDee Lamb. It's a great matchup for Cooks for Gallup. I think you're starting Pollard, you're starting Lamb. You can maybe even whip Ferguson out there if you need a tight end this weekend. And Cooks and Gallup, these guys are deep plays at best. They're very risky, but I just want to note that they could have a nice game in this one. Probably not the Cowboys defense. Dowdle and Vaughn will leave on the bench. On the Chargers side, you're starting the studs. Herbert, Eckler, and Keenan Allen, yes, please. I like Josh Palmer. You guys know I liked him when we were on him in the waiver wire process. He's going to see 6, 7, 8 targets per game. So if you need someone, he can be your wide receiver 3 flex. Probably not the Chargers defense in this one. I think this game's going to be high scoring. Keep an eye on Quentin Johnston. After the bye week, we technically see rookies get more involved in the offense as they had time to assimilate to the offense and just get more put on their plate. I'm watching for him in deeper leagues. Say no to Kelly, Everett, Parham. But fun game, Monday Night Football, man. I'm open to this game actually being kind of fun and having some fantasy points in it. So that's it, though. That's the start-sit charts for week number 6. At this point, we got about 10 to 15 minutes here, so I'm going to hang out with you guys, and we'll answer questions. Would you try to get Amon-Ra St. Brown in non-PPR? I'm open to it, Harris. Like, if you we know he's good for 70 to 100 yards, so that's a safe amount of receiving yards, and he does have touchdown tendencies. He's been hot with touchdowns to start the year, so I'm fine with it. Obviously, it's not his best format, but he is a really good receiver still. Brian says start PPR running back 2, McLaughlin, Gibbs, Roschon, DeMercado. I don't trust McLaughlin quite yet. If you told me Javonte Williams was not playing tomorrow night, I'd probably say McLaughlin. But I'm going to hold out on this one, Brian. Let's not play McLaughlin. You know, he's going to need like a long touchdown or something to make your day. So it's a bit of a dice roll. I'm going to wait for the health of Gibbs and Roschon. But right now, I'm going to probably say it's DeMercado. If Roschon plays, I might lean Roschon over DeMercado if we get to that point. But I'm going to rank them as DeMercado, Roschon, Gibbs, McLaughlin at this point. 18 PPR going with Gabe Davis in one of my 2 flexes. I have Tutu, Wilson, Palmer. What do you think? I'm going to keep Garrett Wilson out there. I know he's really good. He's had 2 kind of flourish games the last couple weekends. If you had to convince me into Josh Palmer, you could, but I'm going to keep Garrett Wilson out there. I think he's a good player and he's going to make some good plays. And yeah, man, Jets have a nice schedule the rest of the way. And the fact that they just they took the training wheels off Breece. We saw him get 22 carries last weekend. Let's take a peek at that. Let's pull that up here, guys. The goddamn Jets. All right, so last weekend, Breece Hall gets 22 carries, 3 targets, 10 routes. He's not the ideal third down back quite yet. They still like Michael Carter in that role, but Dalvin Cook is pretty much useless in this offense. So they want to lean into Breece. I think it's officially Breece season, and this is kind of what we painted all summer long. Like, if you have the patience for Breece, he might be kind of useless in September, but hey, October into November, we're going to see Breece Hall take over, and it's absolutely wonderful. If you can try and trade for him, I think I'm into it. Trade Flowers and Jaylen Warren for Pittman, Pickens, and Jerome Ford, non-PPR. Whoa. Yeah, man, let's do it. You're trading Flowers and Warren, and you're getting Pittman, who's the best receiver, and Pickens. Wow. Yeah, Harris, that seems like a smash trade. If you're getting Pittman, Pickens, and Ford, sign me up. That's a steal, dude. Algier getting more volume but less yards than Bijan is crazy. Yeah, I mean, Algier's he's an okay running back. He's kind of like an AJ Dillon type. I think what they're trying to do is they're like, hey, we got Bijan for the next 4 years here. We don't want to wear him out. We don't want to give him 31 carries. We don't want to give him 25. Let's bang on Tyler Algier. And it's still they're 3-2. They're winning games doing this formula. Obviously, Bijan's the best passing down back that they have. I'm okay with what they're doing right now, I guess. Especially in dynasty formats, like they're prolonging Bijan. Start 2 PPR, Higgins or Downs. I mean, it's a fantastic matchup for Higgins. If Higgins plays and the reports are good, I'm gonna lean into Higgins. It's literally the best matchup on paper right now, going up against the Seahawks corners. But Downs is a really safe option. If you're nervous about Higgins, Brian, Josh Downs is getting 8 to 10 targets this game. So he's a safe high floor guy. Obviously, Higgins has the ceiling here. I'm going to lean Higgins, I think, though. Benguin02, YouTube, thank you for the question. Hope you're having a good evening. Start, sit, 2 receivers, 2 RBs, 1 flex. We got JT, Rashad, Ford, Jacobs, Hall. It looks like Chase, Wilson, Olave, TJ, Sen, and Godwin. Okay, so the 2 running backs, I think you're playing Jacobs, you're playing Breece. Those are the 2 that stick out the most to me. At the receivers, we're going to go Chase, lock him in, and then I'm going to lock in Olave. And then my flex call, I'm not comfortable with JT, White, or Ford yet. I think it's between Godwin and Wilson. I'm going to lean Godwin. So my final answers are going to be Jacobs and Hall, Chase, and Olave, and then I'm going to lean Godwin just because it looks like Mike Evans is probably not going to play, but we'll see. Joe, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the question. Should I trade Chase and Pittman for Bijan and Lamb? Also DJ Moore for Swift. Full PPR. Okay, let's break that down. Chase and Pittman for Bijan and Lamb. I might need more information there, Joe. I think if you're trading away Chase and Pittman and getting Bijan and Lamb, I'm hoping you have more wide receiver depth. I don't really want to trade away Jamar Chase right now, though. So I'm not super interested in this one. I think CeeDee Lamb's been fine, but he hasn't been elite. So Pittman might be just as valuable as CeeDee Lamb at the moment here. So I'm going to lean Chase Pittman side and DJ Moore for DeAndre Swift. If you needed the running back, I'm fine with it, but I think DJ Moore is too hot to trade away right now. So I'm personally keeping Chase Pittman and DJ Moore in this one. It does sound like you're looking for running backs though, so if you have more questions, let me know. Good evening to Justin. Hope you're doing well, man. Would you do Tyreek for Kenneth Walker non-PPR? Probably not. Probably like Tyreek is. We're struggling to name two receivers better than Tyreek Hill in fantasy football right now. Name 5 running backs better than Kenneth Walker. Like I think there's more running backs better than Kenneth Walker than there are receivers for Tyreek Hill. So I'm going to keep Tyreek Hill. We going Smith or Waller? If Waller plays, I'm going with Waller. You know, I know he didn't practice today. If he plays, though, I'm going to lean with Waller. There's also, like, you know, we have to watch for Daniel Jones in this one, so that does add a wrinkle to it, but I'm still thinking Darren Waller's the guy I'm looking for. Lockett not having a good week since week 2 has me leaning bench him. I'm fine with it. I know Lockett has not he hasn't had a breakout game yet, but I'm thinking this game might be kind of fun. But hey, man, if you want to go Devonta Smith, like it's the name value here. And if that's what your gut's telling you, like we know Devonta Smith's really good at football and he's due for one of those games. We saw Dallas Goedert get the squeaky wheel last weekend. Maybe it's Devonta Smith this weekend. So I'll change my answer to Devonta Smith here, Christian. DV Severe, good evening. I got a trade offer for Puka and Gibbs for Tua, Jameson Williams, and Stevenson. Should I do it? I really need a QB. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I don't want to give away Puka. I think Jameson Williams is kind of a fraud. So to me, it's a huge downgrade from Puka to Jameson Williams. I'd rather own Gibbs over Stevenson long term. I think I'm sure you need a quarterback, but there's got to be some decent ones on the waiver wire that you can probably just get for free. So I'm not getting rid of Puka. Puka is not going away. This was kind of why we were high on him, you know, before the waiver wire. Like Puka is the wide receiver too. He led the team in snaps, routes, and he was second on the team in targets with 11. Like I think this sticks. So Puka to me is a value. Great question there, Justin. I'm not sure what happened to Green Bay on Monday Night Football. I think they got away from their game plan. It wasn't a good game plan. I do want to see this offense with Aaron Jones. I think Romeo Doubs is probably being pushed down to that like Josh Palmer, KJ Osborne tier now, where he's like a good number 2, number 3 on his own team. He's probably a wide receiver 3 flex play at best. So still a guy I want to stash because we've seen Christian Watson, you know, with soft tissue injuries and other things. Like if Watson's out, yeah, we're going to want Romeo Doubs. So I think he's more of just a bench piece going forward. And as the Packers are getting healthier this weekend with Jones and Watson, that's probably going to make Romeo Doubs their 3rd or 4th best play. Do you like James Cook in non-PPR? I'm not like in love with him, and I don't hate him. I think he's fine. Obviously, he had a pretty bad game last weekend. He does have more value to PPR league, so I'm not in love with him. If you wanted to try and send him, if you had someone that was trying to get him, like I'm cool with sending him. David Phillips says, "Is Debo still hurt? I have a Pittman and Thielen. Could you rank those for me?" Yeah, I think right now, man. Again, with Gardner Minshew at the helm, I think Pittman's a solid wide receiver too. I think Pittman, Thielen, Debo is how I would rank them. I think my summer thoughts on Debo Ayuk is starting to show evident that Ayuk is the wide receiver I'd rather own in that offense. I still think Debo's good, but it certainly looks like Ayuk is the better receiver in that offense. So I'm going to rank them again as Pittman, Thielen, Debo. I don't know when the wheels are going to fall off for Thielen, but it feels like they could soon. Would you do Brees and Gabe Davis for Keenan Allen, non-PPR? It feels like we're giving away a lot here. I want to pull up a trade calc real quick and see what it spits out at us. Man, like I know Gabe Davis is pretty fluky with the touchdowns, but he's been getting the touchdowns. If I go to non-PPR, let's pull it up here. We're giving away Brees, Gabriel, and we're getting Keenan. Keenan obviously is the best player in the deal, but That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm worried about Breece, like Breece Hall in a non PPR, man. He might be just as good as Keenan, so I'm gonna lean towards keeping Breece and Gabe. Someone in my league is offering up JJ, but he wants Tua and Ayuk. I'm not that interested in trading for Justin Jefferson. Severe. I'm super nervous about the Vikings, man. Like if they're say they're 2-8 or 3-7 and Justin Jefferson's not ready to come back, like the season could go on a little bit longer and they shut him down. I'm personally pretty nervous about it. You'd have to be like 4-1 to accept this deal. I mean, you have to be willing to risk Justin Jefferson getting shut down at some point this season, and I'm not sure. I'm 100% sure that he's going to play. So I'm probably going to keep Tua and Ayuk. Do you like Amari or Devonta Smith going forward? I'm going to like Devonta Smith going forward. Something stinks in Cleveland. I don't know what's going on over there, but something's weird. Joe Mixon or Breece Hall, half PPR. I'm going Breece Hall, Harris. I would be giving away Keenan Allen. You'd be giving away Keenan Allen. Oh. Then yeah. Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's go get Breece and Gabe. Let's do it. Yeah, I thought you were getting Keenan Allen. So Breece and Gabe, that was the side that the trade calculator liked by a lot. So that's cool with me. I do want to look and just see if there's any updates that I missed. We'll hang out for another few minutes, but I am super excited for week number 6. Keontae Ingram limited with that neck injury. We'll watch for him in practice report. DK Metcalf been playing through a rib injury, but it sounds like he's fine. Still no Elijah Mitchell yet, so Jordan Mason is the RB2 there. Just kind of your similar status reports that we've looked at throughout the show tonight. But I do want to look real quick. NFL, one thing I like to look at, and now that the weather's getting colder, guys, check out NFLweather.com. Tomorrow night they're calling for chance of rain showers and 21 mile per hour winds. So just from my research into weather and how it impacts NFL games, anything over 15 mile per hour winds affects how the ball is in the air, on deeper plays. So maybe not as much passing tomorrow night. Obviously with the rain and the wind, that's like the least ideal situation. So maybe not the bonanza points tomorrow night. It looks good for the Tennessee Ravens game. That's obviously in London though. Falcons are in a dome. Then we got the Bears. They have rain and wind. Same with Cincinnati, rain and wind. So that might make me lean a little bit, if you guys are looking at Tyler Lockett questions, maybe lean away from that game. If you're looking at T. Higgins questions, maybe lean away from that game. Rain and wind in Cleveland 49ers. Miami's got 88 degrees, but scattered thunderstorms. So we'll worry about that later. But otherwise, yeah, check out the weather reports. How about Madison and Drake London instead of Keenan? I want Keenan Allen. Nope, I want Keenan Allen. I don't see it with Alexander Madison there, Harris. I think Cam Akers is coming. Cam Akers is going to force a 50-50 split maybe as early as this weekend. So it's not looking good for Madison long term. And hey, man, if the Vikings are losing games, like they're gonna play the at the Bears this weekend. That's kind of a toss up, right? Then they get the 49ers. Like they're losing that game. So at best, if they win this game, they're gonna lose to the 49ers. They're gonna be 2-5. I'm nervous about the Vikings. No problem, David. Warren or Harris, which one should start, or should I try to trade them? Warren or Harris? I think at this point, man, Warren scored more points than Najee in every game in full PPR. I don't know if that's your format, Severe, but I'm playing Warren over Harris, and who knows? Maybe after the bye week, we finally see Jaylen Warren overtake him in terms of snaps and touches. So if you can trade away Harris, that's the one I want to trade away. I would still trade for Breece and Gabe Davis. So what? I'm confused there. You're trading away Keenan Allen and you're getting Breece and Gabe. And then okay. Yeah, if you can trade away Madison and Drake London and if you can get Breece and Gabe Davis for Madison and like do it. Yeah, that's the move there, Harris. I'm sorry, I was confused a little bit here, but yeah, I want Breece and Gabe Davis. I want to send away Madison and London. Keep Keenan Allen, man. That's a hell of a deal. Yeah, dude, let's do it. How do you feel about JT and the Moss situation? I mean, JT's been away from football for, all August, all September. He's maybe not 100% game speed ready. He's maybe not conditioned as well, which is why we saw Zach Moss get pretty much all the touches last weekend. So I think it's going to be a little bit of time yet before Jonathan Taylor overtakes the starting situation. Right now, I think Zach Moss, it's his backfield. Maybe it's like a 70-30 split this weekend. I expect JT to take more and more as we go along here, but maybe we don't see JT full speed until November. It might be 2 or 3 games yet. But yeah, you got to remember, he didn't practice all August, didn't practice all September. He's just getting back now, so they're going to continue to bring him slowly. So I think it's Zach Moss for the time being until we see otherwise. But hey, guys, we're at the hour. That's going to do it for me tonight. If you guys want to hang out with me tomorrow evening, we're going to go live, I think 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll do the Thursday night show before the game. Come with any questions you guys have tomorrow night. We'll go over any, pressing practice reports. Come with your questions and anything you guys may need from me. Otherwise, hey, if you guys aren't in the Discord yet, there's a link in the description of this video. That's where you guys can answer questions and chat with a lot of the guys that are in the video chat tonight with us. So check out the Discord. We'll see you guys tomorrow evening. Have a good rest of your night. Peace.